This is the inside of the 2021 Auto Sleeper Symbol MQ. If I firstly come to the main control panel, you will see that we have the external temperature displayed along the top. This little sun that appears every now and then is just letting you know that the solar panel is active. We have a lightning strike just here letting us know that we're currently connected up to mains electricity. We have the humidity in the centre, and on the right hand side here we have the internal temperature. And then right in the centre we have the time and the date. 12 volt on and off just here. Beneath that we then have the water pump on and off. We need the water pump on so we can get water out of the taps, flush the toilet and fill the boiler if it's been drained down. We then have water levels, so how much water is in the fresh tank and how much water is in the waste tank. And power levels just here. So condition of leisure battery, condition of vehicle battery, how many amps we're either using or have coming into the van, the mains current just there and the solar current. We then have here the main isolator for the onboard lights, and then they can all be individually turned on and off on their own switches. If they are the top ceiling lights, once they've been turned off on here, you will need to touch them again to turn them back on again. Awning light on and off just here. And beneath that we have battery selection, so L for leisure, V for vehicle. Whichever battery you've selected on here is the battery you are using to run the back end of the van, and it's also the battery you are charging when you're hooked up to mains electricity. In the bottom right hand corner here we then have the settings menu. So within that we have power settings. Best to just leave it set in smart mode. That way when you're hooked up to the main supply it will just smart charge both the leisure and vehicle batteries. So at the moment you'll see that the main supply is charging the leisure and the solar is charging the vehicle, and then after a period of time they will then switch. We then have automatic tank fill just here. This needs to be on if you're going to be using the whale filler hose on the outside of the van. This just makes the solenoid live to allow water in. Beneath that we then have waste and fresh tank heaters. So if you are using the van in extremely cold climate, you can pop these on to avoid any frost damage occurring to the tanks. Next we have lights that will come on when you turn the 12 volt on. As you can see they're all set in the off position at the moment. You can set these up to whatever personal preference you would like. Key beeps on and off. Water level alarms on and off for both the fresh and the waste tank. Set the brightness of this backlight and then how quickly this screen times out when you're not interacting with it. Set the time and date. And then the heating settings for the whale heating and hot water system. At the moment with the little hand it's set in manual mode, so we're just controlling it on here. What you can do is set timers as well. If we now actually come across to the whale heating and hot water control panel, you'll see that we have water heater here and heating here. If we start with the water heater, if I begin pressing the button, you'll see a series of icons appear until it eventually ends up back at off. So if we start with the first icon just here, it's just a little picture of a snowflake, and this is the boiler's frost setting. So if you're not planning on heating up any hot water in it, you can put this on, and then if the temperature inside the van drops below about 3-4 degrees, it will come on to avoid any frost damage occurring to the boiler. We then have a single wavy line. Wavy lines represent mains electricity, and I always round it up just to make life easier, and I class this as 1 kilowatt. We then have two wavy lines, so mains electricity at about 2 kilowatts. So these two settings just dependent on the amperage of the site you're on to try and avoid tripping. If we have no main supply, we can run on gas with a little picture of the flame. And if we have both power sources available to us, we can put it into dual fuel mode, so a mixture of gas and mains at 1 kilowatt, or a mixture of gas and mains at 2 kilowatt. This setting extremely handy, especially in the winter months if you want to get up to temperature nice and quickly. Whenever the boiler is consuming gas, you will get a little flame just appear here to let you know. If we now drop down to the heating, very similar again, icons until we end up back at off. This time firstly a single wavy line. Again, mains electricity, but this time at about 500 watts. Two wavy lines, mains electricity at about 1 kilowatt. And three wavy lines, main supply at about 2 kilowatts. Again, gas on its own. And then the dual fuel mode again. Control the temperature on the plus and the minus just here. And again, when the boiler and the heating are consuming gas, a little flame will appear. Whale recommend dropping right the way down to the little picture of the moon just here if you need your heating on whilst you're asleep. It's a low temperature of about 16 degrees and will also keep the fan nice and quiet. If there is a problem with either the water heating or the heating, you will get red exclamation marks appear. So if it's a water heater issue, it will appear where my finger is just here. And if it's a heating issue, it will appear just here. If you then hold down the offending unit, it will then bring up a series of little red lights down here. So if we get a red exclamation mark here, just hold the water heater button in, see how many red lights appear, and then look within the manual, or if you Google it, and it will then tell you the problem. If it's something relatively easy and you can rectify the problem, once you've done this, you will then need to hold the water heater button in and then press the plus button at the same time, and it will then reset the control panel. And if it's a heating issue, same again, hold the heater button and press the plus, and it will then clear the error down. If we now come to the bench seat just here, and I just remove the cushions, you will now see we have the location of the smaller table just there, so tabletop just there, and then within the wardrobe is the pole that then drops into the hole just here. If I now just lift up, we have in here the leisure battery just here and the main 12 volt fuse just here. Some more 12 volt fuses here. They are labelled up and are for bits that are mainly on the outside of the van. The solenoids just here for the whale filler system. And then we have the pressure switch just here. If you are finding that when you're closing down the taps that you are getting a considerable amount of pump overrun, you can slightly adjust this. Never twist it violently because you will knock the pump completely out of sync. It is just very tiny fine movements. You'll also see that we have the gas isolation tap just there for the boiler, and over here we have at the bottom there the heating, middle one for the fridge, and then the top one for the cooker. These can really stay all in the on position. I will say if you smell gas in the van, just go to the source, take that front plate off the gas tank and isolate it there. The boiler itself just sits here, and to drain the boiler down for winterization etc, it's just done here. Firstly, make sure that the water pump is turned off, and then twist the lever across like so, and it will then drain all the water out of the boiler. I always suggest that if you are fully winterizing the van, that you also open up all of the taps, because this will help in releasing any airlocks in the system and help it drain down much more efficiently. When it comes to repriming the system, close all the taps, fill up the fresh water tank, turn the water pump back on, and then close back up again. Let the boiler begin filling itself back up again, and then start opening up taps. They'll cough and splutter a bit as they force the air out. Once they're running freely, reclose, and then the system will then fully reprime itself back up again. Also in here is the battery charger just there, which will charge both leisure and vehicle when the van is hooked up to the main supply. Above my head is the Truma air conditioning unit. This will operate when hooked up to the main supply. You can control airflow here and here and on these dials as well. The remote control looks like this, on and off on the blue button just here. And then we have mode just here. So at the moment we're in cool with the little picture of the snowflake. Control the temperature just here, and then control the fan speed just here. We have heat auto, so just literally select the temperature you would like it to maintain. Air recirculation, and then back to cool again. If I then slide down, we can set timers. We can also, with that little picture of the moon just there, put it into night mode, so it does quieten itself down, as you can now hear. And this button here controls the lights in the unit as well. And then back off again in the center. In the wardrobe we have the pole for the table. We also have the digital amplifier for the television aerial on the roof, on and off just here, and control the boost just here. And then you'll find that you have TV plug-in points just here. Also in here is the Huawei mobile Wi-Fi unit. On and off on the switch just here. It does need the SIM card inserting first. Just remove the back plate, take the battery out and pop the SIM card in. Once you pop the SIM card in, when you turn it on, it will display the Wi-Fi code. Search for the Wi-Fi on your device, pop the code in, and it will then take you to the website to pay the subscription for it. Hob just here. So we have 3 gas rings, and it's just a matter of pushing in, twisting and pushing the igniter. Beneath that we have the oven and the grill. Push into the left for the oven and push into the right for the grill. Some storage beneath, and then also in here you will find the consumer unit. So we have the trip switches just here. So we have the 3 grey individual MCBs, then we have the main RCD and the test button just here. They are all labelled up on the bottom and then will correspond in the auto sleeper handbook. So if something's not working on main supply, just check to see whether or not you've tripped. We then have the 12 volt fuses just here, and again they are numbered up and correspond in the handbook, and if something's not working on 12 volt, just check to see whether or not you've blown a fuse. Isolator switches along the top just here. So we have the amber one for the whale heating and hot water system, so if you turn this off you will get a red exclamation mark if you're trying to run on main supply. We then have the green one just here for the battery charger. Again, we want this on because we want to be able to charge the leisure and vehicle battery from the mains when we're hooked up. These are really for maintenance, so quite frankly they can be left alone. This one here will illuminate if you have reverse polarity connected to the motorhome. You can sometimes find this on some continental sites. And then lastly, just tucked up in the corner here is full system shutdown. So if you're not going to be using the van for a lengthy period of time, you can press this black button here and it will shut the back end of the van down to avoid any draw on the leisure battery. Microwave just here, so this will work when we're hooked up to mains electricity. Isolator switch for it just here. This particular microwave does not require a microwave plate. And then we have the normal quick start and stop just here. And then we have power settings, etc., defrost. At the rear we have the Thetford fridge freezer on and off on this button just here. So if I now just hold it in, I can turn the unit off. If I hold it again, turn it back on again. This is an automatic fridge, so as long as you are on A for auto, it will find the best power source it can for you. So because we're currently hooked up to main supply, let's put us on to mains with a little picture of the 2-pin plug. If I now went outside and pulled the mains lead out, it would then automatically attempt to fire itself up onto gas. And as soon as we start the engine, it will then go over to 12 volt maintain to keep the fridge cold whilst on the move. As you can see, everything will go off after a period of time and you'll just get this light on here just indicating that it's all working. Just tap the square to bring it back to review again. I can take it out of auto if we want to. Just hold the square in and it will begin to flash, and then use your arrows. So I can manually put it onto mains, manually put it onto 12 volt maintain, and I can manually put it onto gas. If I now put it onto 12 volt maintain for a moment, after you've selected that, it will then go to your temperature control, and again just arrow to select. It will flash and we will get a red light at the moment. It's just letting us know that there's a problem, and the problem is the fact that the engine is currently not running. But quite frankly, auto is the easiest option to have it on. Freezer box at the top. Next we have the washroom. So we have the shower just there. Pull down basin. And then beneath that, the Thetford toilet. Open to the cassette on the grey lever just here. Push the flush on the top. And then close to the cassette again just here. If this has been left open and you try to remove the cassette from the outside, it will not come out. So if you do feel resistance, just make sure that nobody's left this open. Level indicator for the cassette just here, so this will rotate round to red when the cassette needs emptying. The beds in this model are either a double bed or two singles. If you're going to have singles, the passenger side one is extremely easy to do. Just push down on the lever here and then slide forward, and then just pop the cushions in, and you will see that you then have your single bed. For the driver's side one, the driver's chair just needs to be slid forward, and then we need the infill, which is just located here. This section then drops into here, and we'll then give the extra length for it. For the double bed, this section here needs to be slid across, and then it's just a matter of dropping in the cushions and then adding the two infills down the edge, like so. The seats rotate round on the red lever just here, just push down on it and it will then allow the seat to rotate.